Jeok Leegeon, with a mysterious smile, with curiosity takes the vase in his hands, studying it. With interest, he asks the question, "How much you paid for it?" On the face of the head of the family appears a slight confusion, and he answers with uncertainty, naming a large sum of 150 nyang. The demon only sighs with regret, considering the price is unreasonably high. The long-haired demon smiles and glints his eyes a little slyly, as if joking, and says, "If I had been there, you would have paid only 120 nyang." His words read confident and easy, as if he was used to getting more favorable terms. Charyung's older sister's husband, clearly trying to defuse the awkwardness, says with a nervous laugh, "Ho ho, that's right, Charyung." He clarifies whether she really intends to participate in the Dragon and Phoenix tournament, together with the young master Jeok Leegeon. Her sister maintains a calm and confident expression. Charyung's sister, with a pensive and slightly concerned look, notes to herself that as infantile and young as she is, her gaze expresses both concern and wariness, as if she is trying to understand the true motives behind Charyung's behavior, perhaps wondering how she could have chosen such an unusual companion to participate in such an important tournament. Young Master Jeok, showing off his find with pleasure, picks up the vase and, turning to Charyung, with a mocking light in his eyes, says how she could go to the Dragon and Phoenix tournament with such a strange man. Charyung, a little embarrassed, tries to stop him, but her protests only add to the fun of the situation. In an attempt to lighten the atmosphere, Jung Hwaryung, with a soft smile on her face, asks what clan you belong to, young Master Jeok, her question sounding both respectful and interested, as if she's hoping to learn more about the origins of Charyung's new companion. Our protagonist Jeok, answering the question about his belonging to a clan, calmly puts the vase on the table, and with a slight chuckle declares, "I have no clan." His answer, it seems, even more intrigues those present, as if he represents a mysterious wanderer with an unknown past. But the past of the demon is quite dark. Feeling that his story needs some explanation, he adds, "But my parents sell fruit at the Yumyong Gate," his words sounding unexpected, like a simple fact of everyday life, contrasting with his belligerent appearance and the impression he makes. Charyung and the rest of her family, seemingly stunned by what they have heard, cannot contain their amazement. Charyung, with a look of surprise on her face, repeats, as if not believing what you have said. The fruit and the rest of the family are also clearly shocked at the unusual origin of young Master Jeok. Finally, someone from the circle, with curiosity and slight wariness, asks another question, looking at the huge swords hanging behind the back of the young Master Jeok. "What are these blades and swords that you carry with you?" The question sounds restrained, but in it clearly guessed interest and even a slight fear of the mysterious companion Charyung. Charyung's sister's husband smiles discreetly, radiating his curiosity as he recounts his knowledge of both sword and blade skills, emphasizing that even a third-rate bandit is capable of such an appearance, if only to create an aesthetic image. His face is covered in sweat as he utters such statements with a strained smile, as if trying to hide the true state of his skills. But the tension in his eyes betrays a certain amount of doubt. A straightforward and confident look pierces Jeok Leegeon's gaze as he claims to stand out in several areas, as if proving the strength of his ancestry and asserting his belonging to a powerful lineage, each member of which possesses unique abilities. His facial expression takes on a grimace of surprise and horror when he shakily asks if he has learnt martial arts from his fruit-selling parents, questioning their true skill as he shatters the illusion of his own superiority. Jeok Leegeon nods demurely as he stands amongst the small Charyung family and calmly asks if he is, in contrast, feeling hungry, his gaze expressing disdain, as if the topic is more than mundane and devoid of importance to true warriors. Charyung glares at his sister and firmly tells her to apologize to the young master, Jeok Leegeon, as if to make it clear that disrespect and decorum are part and parcel of life for them. Charyung, under the light of the lanterns, surrounded by flowering trees, she walks tiredly through the garden, thinking that she brought him home to protect him from the possible trouble that Jang Yingyeo could have caused. Feeling both relieved and unsure of the rightness of her actions. Tired and pondering, she stops, realizing her uncertainty, and utters that she doesn't know what to do now, lost in her thoughts and worries that are restraining her in this moonlight. In the darkness of the night, under the trees, petals fluttering in the light breeze, Jeok Leegeon appears in front of her, his figure casting a long shadow, creating an atmosphere of mystery and quiet expectation. She clearly did not expect such a meeting here. She quietly asks him why he can't sleep, to which he replies that he is unable to rest peacefully as he changes his surroundings, as if hinting at the inner restlessness that keeps him awake. Looking up at the darkening sky and surrounded by flowering trees, he speaks to her, telling her that he still has plans for the day that involve something important. Charyung looks at him with a slight perplexity, bowing his head slightly as if he can't quite understand what he means. He raises his hand on which you can see his tattoo, which gives his appearance a touch of dark mystery. His gaze is focused, and it seems that at this moment his thoughts are occupied with something very serious and perhaps dangerous. Perhaps because of this tattoo, he received such a nickname as a demon, or it symbolizes him. With a smile full of hidden menace, he tells her that he intends to send a few people away that evening. His expression remains calm, but there is a certain ferocity and determination in his words that is unsettling. Charyung doesn't know what he means. Charyun shudders inwardly, not knowing whether he is joking or serious, and she looks at him thoughtfully, noting with alarm how calmly and even cheerfully he utters such cruel words that a normal person could hardly utter so easily. The thought flashes through her mind that perhaps his story about the fruit stand is also part of some strange joke. The image of his parents standing behind the fruit stand flashes before her eyes, and she can't help but wonder who these people really are. Her interest turns to bewilderment when she remembers the rumors about his mother, that she is beautiful and has something magnetic. She decides to ask him about his family, cautiously wondering what kind of man his father is. And for a moment, the demon thinks for a moment. Looking at the reflection of the moon in the pond, he wistfully says that his father always tried to observe rules and order, and never broke the established norms. These words sound with a touch of respect, but in them there is also some hidden bitterness, as if partly he feels the weight of these rules. He confesses that his parents were always against his entry into the world of martial arts, especially his father, who considered this path too dangerous and fragile. These words reveal to her the inner conflict hidden in his soul, between his duty to his family and his desire to follow his own path. Charyung realizes that his parents are not part of the warrior world, which is probably why they are so concerned about his fate, and her heart is filled with sympathy as she sees a man who has to fight not only external but also internal obstacles. Demon, looking thoughtfully into the distance, said that he had heard that many people were worried about the situation in Jianghu, as if trying to weigh the meaning of these words and realize the extent of the worries. She beside her, suddenly tense and slightly confused. Charyung looked thoughtfully into the distance, thoughts of her parents tormenting her. She knew they were worried about her, but now that the events had come so far, there was no point in retreating. Her face was resolute, and her gaze was firm, as if she had finally accepted the inevitability of what was to come. The young man, who noticed the change in her mood, looked at her with slight concern. Surprised at her determination, his golden eyes flashed for a moment, conveying bewilderment and hidden admiration for her resilience. Charyung lowered her head, sighing heavily, as if under the weight of her own thoughts, she was weighed down by fatigue. But at the same time, she remained focused, ready to overcome all the difficulties that stood in her way. Jeok Leegeon turned his attention to her. She made a brief remark, saying that the dinner was too light and she had already digested it. Her eyes opened wide as she thought about the next day's dinner. A slight tinge of disappointment was visible in her gaze, but she tried not to show it by abruptly changing the topic of conversation. With a smile and a light laugh, she expressed her hope that meat dishes would be served tomorrow. Jeok Leegeon looked at her with a kind chuckle, appreciating her simple but sincere joy at such a small thing. He was pleased with her. Suddenly he stopped, looking at her seriously. With a slight irritation in his voice, he told her to stop talking nonsense and leave this place the next morning after breakfast. His words were cold, but there was concern in the depths of his eyes. Her face expressed confusion, and she quickly turned to ask him what was wrong. Her voice trembled with excitement, and a flicker of fear could be seen in her gaze, as if she was afraid of what she might hear in reply. He smiled slowly, and a playful expression appeared in his eyes as he asked with a slight sneer if she was really worried about him. His words sounded almost provocative, as if he knew he had touched on a sensitive subject for Cheon. Her reaction was instantaneous. She sharply exclaimed that it was nonsense. Her face flushed, her voice full of emotion, her rage mixed with surprise and embarrassment, which only increased her righteous indignation, but at the same time, a slight blush appeared on her face. As Charyong walked away, muttering to herself, Leegeon couldn't help but laugh softly as he watched her decisive step. She shouted that she wasn't worried about him, but about what kind of people he might meet in the future, her words drifting away into the silence of the night, leaving him with a slight smile of hidden understanding. The reflection in the calm water fills the night with quiet intrigue. Lilies cover the surface of the pond, trembling in the light of the moon, while the hero, as if in confusion, bends over the reflection. Something fleeting touches his soul. The moonlight envelops the mysterious structure, from the windows of which a bright red light bursts out. It seems that a dark force lurks within, beckoning our hero, awakening in him a sense of danger and the unknown. Near the entrance to this building sat a group of people. They gathered around the fire, their silhouettes flicker in the shadows, each of them as if guarding his place, their swords resting nearby, ready to engage in battle at the first signal. The demon understands that it is a guard. One of the guards sitting by the fire, frowning, clutches his sword tightly, his eyes glittering with determination and the pain of loss, as if he had sworn to avenge something dear to him that he had lost in the past. He suddenly lights up with a cruel decision, his gaze full of grim certainty, suggesting that he is ready to do his duty by sending the one in front of him to meet his ancestors. He utters the phrase that he had no choice. They are probably talking among themselves. The flames of the fire cast their glow on the gathered men, their shadows dancing distortedly on the ground. The valiant Ohana tensely discussed their plans, each of them holding themselves with confidence, as if this meeting had deep significance. One of them, the youngest, hints, with a sly smile, that recent events may have saved someone from the bitter fate of becoming an orphan, as if mocking their stern actions. Jeok Leegeon stands in the shadows with his sword behind his back, staring into the darkness of the night, a stern expression on his face as he notices a stranger approaching, sensing something unusual about him. Suddenly, the guards notice the stranger in front of the entrance, asking, "Who are you and what are you doing here in the middle of the night?" One of them asks, keeping his hand on the hilt of his sword, watching the stranger in the shadows, as if realizing that this is not just a random wanderer. The mysterious stranger coldly replies that the forest before them is not just a forest, but a dark knot, a place known as the Wandering Market, his words filling the air with an ominous foreboding, as if something dangerous and inevitable lies ahead. The bandaged guard raises his eyebrows mockingly as he observes the presence of the young warrior. His sarcastic remark about how even children now walk around freely is sarcastic, while his partner laughingly supports this mockery. But they clearly underestimate our hero. On the face of the demon reflects cold determination. His eyes burn like a flame, and his voice sounds smooth and impassive, saying the fateful phrase, "You will die." These words make the partners tense, realizing that before them is not an ordinary newcomer, as they assumed. One of the guards, still underestimating the strength of the enemy, in a mocking tone, declares that he will not fight seriously with the kid, but his words lose credence when he realizes that the young warrior has no intention of retreating and is ready to respond to his threat with a strength they clearly did not expect. The opponent rushes forward, shouting an accusation of lack of manners, but his gesture seems unconvincing and his attack looks chaotic, in contrast to the confident and calm expression on the face of his opponent, who remains motionless, waiting for the right moment to respond. In the blink of an eye, the opponent's fist, aimed at the young warrior's face, almost reaches its target, but the demon retains an unperturbed expression, as if anticipating his enemy's every move, his gaze full of confidence, and not a single muscle trembles, as if he is only watching the slow-motion scene. Suddenly, the demon begins to attack, moving his hands very quickly, and at this point, the fight takes an even more mysterious and dangerous turn. The demon reacts instantly, dodging and turning the enemy in one movement, as if in a dance. His companions watch with swords in their hands, carefully observing what is happening, expressing mixed emotions from mockery to gloating anticipation. They clearly do not understand the power that their comrades will face, and continue to laugh, finding the situation comical. One of them loudly mocks his partner, sarcastically noting how low he has fallen since he let the child beat him. Their laughter and impertinent words reflect a complete lack of respect, which spurs the young warrior to show his strength even more fiercely. The demon was young, but very strong. Jeok Leegeon tightly clutches the hilt of his sword. His gaze stares into the future with unbroken determination. His hands shake not from fear, but from inner strength and desire to show himself. The air feels the tension, and his every movement causes trepidation in the observers. With an instantaneous movement, the young warrior knocks his opponent off his feet, sending him flying across the battlefield. His opponent falls to the ground with a force that raises a cloud of dust. Jeok Leegeon, just as nonchalantly, takes a step forward. The faces of the three companions reflected the sudden realization of impending danger as they saw the approach of something that could change the course of their lives forever. Their gazes full of confusion and growing fear, catching every shadow that slipped around them, waiting for the inevitable clash. Jeok Leegeon stands, filled with determination and extraordinary concentration, as if every word he utters carries the weight of his destiny. There is no room for hesitation on this path. He knows that this is what really matters to him. Each step echoes in his mind, reminding him that he is approaching his new future. With each step, he strengthens his resolve, inwardly accepting the inevitability of the challenges ahead and preparing to face any obstacles. Someone from the guard asks why. They, hearing the insolent and mysterious words, raise their weapons with undisguised indignation, like offended children who have been challenged, their eyes blazing with anger and their hearts clenched in cold fear as they, without losing their fighting stance, prepare for battle. In an unbridled rush, like an ancient vengeful spirit, the hero rushes forward, unleashing all his might upon his foes, his sword glinting in the light of the fire, cutting through the darkness and striking terror into the hearts of his foes, his every movement an embodiment of hidden strength and determination, breaking through the darkness to change the course of this battle forever. His eyes light up with icy fire, and his face takes on an expression of absolute calm, behind which lies cold rage, the golden glint of his eyes, full of determination and steely will, pierces the gaze of his enemies. And from his lips come words like a death sentence. This time, no one will leave without retribution, not even those whom he used to forgive. His sword sweeps through the ranks of his enemies, leaving a trail of blood behind it like a lightning symbol of merciless justice. And the air fills with the whistle of steel and bloody flashes as his enemies realize that the scene of their own destruction is being played out before them. The faces of the guards are contorted in a terrifying grimace of pain and despair. Their screams of panic and fear shake the silence of the night, their hearts filled with terror at the inexorable force that looms over them like fate itself, leaving them no right of escape. With cold but firm determination, our hero realizes that he will have to spill blood to achieve his goal. His gaze, full of hidden fire, becomes fixed, and the words that fall from his lips carry the undeniable truth that today he will not stop at the necessity of killing. His footsteps sound on the gloomy floor, leaving a trail of blood that seems to symbolize his ruthless determination and unyielding choice. Each drop of blood under his feet, a silent testament to the path he has traveled, leading to a future where there is no room for weakness. Jeok Leegeon silently bows his head. His face is half lit, and the shadows hide the details, creating a somber and calm expression. His face is immersed in darkness. The bodies of his defeated enemies lie on the floor, emphasizing the atmosphere of tragedy and bloodshed. He stands in a corridor flooded with red light, surrounded by the bodies of his defeated foes. The corridor seems gloomy and ominous, as if the very air is saturated with silence and cruelty. Confidently and unwaveringly, he heads towards the closed doors, behind which perhaps the next danger lurks. He opens the red door, his hands adorned with elaborate tattoos and the marks of battle. These disfigured but strong hands touch the door. Preparing to take the next step, it signifies his readiness to face what lies ahead, to reach the end. He enters a huge hall filled with luxury and excess. In the center of the room sits a stocky, bulky man, surrounded by servants, as if embodying arrogance and cruelty. Everything here screams of ruthless power and wealth. Our protagonist casts a gaze filled with determination and fearlessness at this huge man, unwavering. He stares ahead, anticipating the inevitable confrontation, and his eyes are full of fire, symbolizing readiness for the next step. The servants serving the cruel ruler are frozen indifferent, performing their duties as if they are accustomed to the fear and subjugation that reigns around them. Their faces calm, which enhances the contrast with the tension of the situation. The servants look at the demon. One pours wine into the cup of the Lord, demonstrating an atmosphere of servility and submission. Our hero observes this scene, noting the hostility that permeates every corner of this luxurious hall. Jeok Leegeon walks confidently towards the throne, his footsteps full of determination, and the servants around him seem to have fallen silent, sensing the impending storm. The atmosphere becomes tense like a taut string. With a slight smile, as if he is assessing the situation and preparing for the final battle, this expression is a reminder of his unwavering confidence and the knowledge that nothing and no one can stop him if this is what he meant with Charyong Descend. Jeok Leegeon, so unruffled and very confident in himself and his abilities, comes closer and closer to the huge man sitting on the throne. He easily and smiling arrogantly says a phrase breaking the silence. What a beautiful atmosphere. A huge man, dressed in spacious clothes, leisurely brings a small glass to his lips. His fingers are decorated with massive rings, and his facial expression reflects calm satisfaction, as if this ritual is habitual for him and gives a special meaning to what is happening around him. Having examined the demon, sitting on his throne, with an arrogant smile and squint, asks the unexpected guest who came to his chambers, "You are here as a guest," he asked. In his posture and intonation is heard disdain, as if this man considers himself the master of the situation and is sure that his status is unshakable. This powerful man, whose massive torso is naked and whose face is petrified in a contemptuous grimace, the words he utters sound like a challenge. Who did you come here to buy to make such a fuss? 84. Jeok Leegeon was charming. His smile is unexpectedly warm, but there is something unkind glittering in his eyes. His face lights up with a smile, but it is more of a mockery than joy, and he utters a cryptic beginning of a sentence, as if deliberately delaying the moment of revealing the true purpose of his visit. The demon stands directly in front of the throne, with his hands on his sword belts, displaying a calm confidence. His posture and gaze reads boldness, and his words to the ruler sound like a defiant challenge. Stating his claim to the title he claims, he pronounces, "The most valuable man in this hall." A faint chuckle slips across his lips, as if expressing disdain for what is happening. A slight exhalation, a short, "huh." It is as if he is trying to hide both annoyance and irony in this sound. The deafening laughter of the ruler, laughter expressed in one long line, fills the whole hall, as if emphasizing his confidence in his power and his disdain and arrogance towards the unexpected guest. The ruler looks at the guest with a haughty chuckle and says, contemptuously, how unlikely it is that someone like him could afford such purchases, his words sounding like mockery, exposing the gap in status and position between them. Or so it seems to him, at least. The hall lights up softly, and the ruler sitting on the throne looks down on his opponent, asking him a mocking question as to whether you can afford it. The hall is full of servants and minions, but the atmosphere is becoming increasingly tense. The ruler, with a sneering grin and a confident tone, quotes a price of 500,000 niang. His face expresses confidence that this sum is beyond the alien's means, and he seems to be savoring the moment. A pile of stacks of banknotes falls at the feet of their owner with a thud. The heavy smell of money is in the air. As if every movement has a price, the demon loudly announces the amount, 500,000 yang, showing his willingness to pay any price. A slight smile on the face of our hero, as if making a deal is just a formality. In his eyes burns confidence, like a predator who knows that in a trap, nothing can escape. He looks up, checking the reaction, as if he already knows the answer. "Hopefully the deal is done," he says. A sudden flash of surprise on his opponent's face. He thought that the words were empty threats, but when he saw so much money, he was stunned, realizing that in front of him stands someone much stronger and more powerful than it seemed at first glance. The mysterious lantern light enveloped in haze gives the scene a frightening atmosphere. The red light seems to symbolize the trials to come, illuminating the dark corners of the room that hide their secrets. Someone quietly warns that he will not be pleased if the price is raised again. A gloating smile appears on the face of a huge man, like a beast pretending to be friendly, his words with a threat. "What if I just kill you and take your money?" he utters. His words fly around the room, creating a tense silence. The answer of our protagonist is almost a whisper, but with an icy determination challenging. "Then I will be even more unpleasant," said the demon. In his eyes there is no fear, only cold confidence, as if he already knows the outcome of this. A huge hand, decorated with rings, rises with a lazy movement, but his anger is not hidden. He slowly, as if testing patience, preparing for actions that could change the course of negotiations. The women servants behind his back are silently watching. Their faces are serene, but their every look speaks of hidden strength and loyalty. They are like the spirits of this hall, secretly supporting their master and ready for anything. Their graceful feet tread on the luxurious carpet, through which a mysterious pink light shines. Moving forward towards Jeok Leegeon, this light envelops the entire hall, as if the air itself is saturated with mystery and magic. Jeok Leegeon is surrounded by women, each of whom looks like the embodiment of charm and seduction. He says with a slight chuckle that he will slightly disappoint them, as if defying all the rules accepted in this world. "But how cute, Charyong.